Welcome back to Investing Insights with Barry Burnett. I'm your host, Barry Burnett, and we're not your average home show. This is designed for the entrepreneurial investor who may have one property, may have 50 properties, but who's focused all of their lives on working very hard to accumulate for their dream. If your dream is being realized by real estate, and yet you can't go on your vacation, then let's rethink a little bit. If your dream is being absolutely realized, you're producing all kinds of excellent tax-protected income, great growth, great equity, then you're doing things right. Keep listening to this because we've got a lot of tips to share with you. We have expert witnesses for entrepreneurial investors to make their portfolios stronger, safer, smarter. We're rejoined by an expert who I am very pleased to have on this show. Tim Hayes is the Executive Director for AIR, Commercial Real Estate Association. Tim, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
And this evening we're talking about the entrepreneurial investors and what happens with the benefits of a partnership with an AIR member, somebody who is dedicated to commercial, industrial, retail, shopping centers, the business of not residential per se. Now, maybe multi-res, a lot of apartment buildings, of course, but that's a different beast than single-family homes.
That's right.
Now, a lot of our listeners have maybe a whole caboodle of single-family homes, and that's great, but they can still gain from the AIR membership.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So let's talk a little bit more about how AIR really does make a big difference to an entrepreneurial investor when they partner with somebody.
Sure. And I guess you could look at it this way. For an investor who's out there, he wants to put his money into some type of a commercial property, he could probably spend a lot of time through various websites on the internet and gather the information he needs. By partnering with a broker, a good knowledgeable broker, all that information is all in one place. The broker has access to it. And maybe most importantly, because the broker is seeing lots of deals being done in the market and has a good feel for that, he can help evaluate and interpret the data that's coming out of the system much more easily and with much more expertise than a person who's trying to gather it from all different data sets across the internet and is then trying to make those interpretations on their own.
So you're talking about something that really helps Tim with focus,
Correct.
right?
Correct. So,
And not only does it help with focus, it reduces time and the fact that the data is factual, authoritative, and source-oriented.
that's right.
That reduces the entrepreneurial investor's risk, doesn't it?
That's right. And because we know where the information is coming from, we know it's been scrubbed by our research teams, we know that the data is very, very strong. And so the investor at the end of it doesn't have to go through that process himself because his broker, the professional working for him, is doing that for him. And that's what he does every day, all day.
And that is part of why this show is oriented towards making an investor's portfolio stronger, safer, smarter. And the safer part is risk management and factual data. So AIR has been around for 50 years.
Correct.
It represents 1,600 members and growing rapidly.
Correct.
Okay. And it covers basically 5-6 counties, but you were explaining a few minutes ago that you've partnered with Xceligent.
Correct.
And you've got a whole mess of specifically dedicated staffers, right?
Correct. So here in the local market, we have up to 120 people at any one time gathering information in this market, and we're feeding it into the database. That database is made available to commercial real estate professionals all across the country. And so our local brokers who are members, they have access to the 40 other markets and all that information. And any brokers or professionals in those 40 other markets can come in and take a look at information here locally. So from an investor standpoint, if they have an interest in being in Texas or they have an interest being in Florida, they can do that with a local broker who they trust and know, and still get access to the same incredible data that is being delivered here locally.
Oh, that's ridiculously quick, clean, and easy, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay, well, that's a really great thing. Now, somebody comes up with enough material to make a, God forbid, decision. And they decide that they want to either lease or purchase, sell or extend a lease opportunity as a landlord to someone in the marketplace.
Right.
They're about to make that decision. Hang on for it just a second, because we're going to talk about that. This is Investing Insights with Barry Burnett. If you've just tuned in, I'm your host, Barry Burnett. We're talking with the Executive Director of AIR, Commercial Real Estate Association, Tim Hayes. Tim, now somebody's just made a decision. They want to do a transaction.
Correct.
Or modify a transaction. How do they do that?
Well, with the AIR, we also are the largest producer of commercial real estate forms.
The largest producer where?
Mainly, we have a very strong following in California, but our forms are used all across the country. They are customized for 8 or 10 other states, and we're in the process of customizing them for all the states across the country. So anybody that needs to do a real estate transaction, we have a library of 55 forms that cover all aspects of commercial real estate commercial real estate transactions. So by using one of our forms, they are using a form that has been time tested. As you mentioned, it's been the first forms were rolled out back in the mid 1960s. So we have 55, 60 years of producing these forms, and we have a forms committee that meets on a quarterly basis, headed up by an attorney by the name of Rick Reamer, who is constantly keeping tabs on what's going on with commercial real estate law.
I've listened to him on numerous occasions, and he is ridiculously well informed.
That's right. No, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
So if a broker wants to do a deal or an owner wants to do a deal, they can use our forms. The forms have become the standard in the industry, yet you can manipulate them, you can modify them as you need to for your particular deal. But
you can add clauses, take out
exactly
non-effective clauses.
That's right. And if you're using them in other states, there's obviously laws in other states that don't match up here, and vice versa. So you can add and remove the clauses that only make sense for where you're doing deals.
Right. In downtown Los Angeles, you're not exactly going to concern yourself with flood zones.
Exactly.
But you might in the Inland Empire.
That's right.
And in North San Diego County or in the inland of Orange County.
That's right.
A lot of different clauses. But see, you mentioned something that I love. They're time-tested, but they've also been court-tested, haven't they?
That's right.
So all of these clauses have come about for a reason, because there's been some test case.
That's right. And also because we take a lot of feedback from our users. So it's very common for us to get phone calls from a broker or from an owner saying, hey, I was involved in a deal, and this clause that you have here, I think needs to be tweaked a little bit because of this, this, and this. When we take all that down, when the committee gets together, we go through every one of those, as I mentioned, on a quarterly basis, and then we are constantly modifying the forms. So if you're using the forms, periodically you will be getting an email that says, hey, we've updated our forms. You download the latest versions, and then you have everything that's state of the art as far as the real estate law is concerned.
So let's see if I can recap how AIR makes a beneficial difference for our listeners.
Okay.
They're entrepreneurial investors. They don't have the same access to the data that someone who works for the bank or the insurance company or the hedge fund might have, or somebody who owns and operates millions of square feet of commercial and industrial property. So can the entrepreneurial investor have the same access?
Going forward, we are starting to open up the membership to the individuals. So going forward, we will have that. Now, and that will give them access to the information, and that's how a lot of the institutional organizations use our information. But most of them still then go out and bring a broker on board to help them translate the information, interpret the information, and make buying decisions in a given market.
And our members are those brokers and agents who have that skill, knowledge, and subscribe to the Code of Ethics.
Correct.
That makes it a really excellent partnership for our entrepreneurial investors, correct?
Exactly.
So in your time here on Investing Insights with Barry Burnett, would you say that the AIR members can benefit also from a reach to the entrepreneurial investors?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it not only are many of the brokers entrepreneurial investors themselves, but they are working with thousands and thousands of people just like that every day.
Yep, and the skill level is really off the charts by comparison with. There are a lot of really excellent agents that don't practice commercial, industrial, retail, office buildings, but the ones that do, the ones that focus, and especially AIR members, that just takes it to a whole different level.
That's correct.
So our listeners, if you are an entrepreneurial investor, seek out an AIR member. You can go on the website, AIREA.com.
.com. Exactly.
.com, not .org. It's going to take you somewhere else. They're AIREA.com. It's worth looking at, isn't it?
Yep, it sure is.
And they can contact you?
Yep, they can contact me directly at 213-880-8676.
That was?
213-880-8676.
This is Tim Hayes, Executive Director of AIR, Commercial Real Estate Association. I'm really proud that you have been on the show, and I thank you very much for participating with us. We will be right back with more Investing Insights with Barry Burnett. I'm your host, Barry Burnett, on Talk Radio 790 KABC.